I expect that Naren will join us shortly, but we can go ahead and get started with some of the information up front. So welcome to the March edition of the GPN PM Feedback Forum. Here's our agenda. We will talk about a couple of housekeeping rules. We'll look at our Tuesday training schedule. We'll look at our organizational structure, some communications, and then the major portion of our meeting will be around the BCC process and the business case template review, which we've just released a new version of that document. So we'll have a look at that. We'll touch briefly on the new process, the records retention requirements, and we will, of course, always open the floor for your feedback. So here are rules of engagement. If you have joined with your phone number, if you would change your identifying information to your first name and last name so that we can record your attendance, that would be appreciated. If you have questions during the presentation, please enter your questions in the Zoom chat. It'll be moderated by one of the IT EPMO team members, and we will look to address questions after each segment. So please feel free to enter your questions there. There will be, of course, our open floor Q&A session at the end, and all questions and comments will be compiled for record and for reference. So let's look first at our IT EPMO Tuesday training. We have a quarterly calendar is published. So for right now, we have a couple of pending training topics. We need to secure the exact training leader and the materials. So those are pending training sessions. So keep an eye out for those. Of course, the training public calendar is always available at the IT EPMO SharePoint site. There is a link to the agenda, which the latest version is always posted there. So here we'd like to welcome a new member of the IT EPMO, Leah Singer. She'll be joining as the Manager of Project Management. So Leah is not on the call right now, but we'd like to be sure that everyone realizes that Leah is joining the IT EPMO team and where she fits in our structure. And again, of course, welcome her to the team. You can view her background and welcome information at the Q1 version of our IT EPMO newsletter. And speaking of which, the newsletter was published, and in this issue, we've covered several topics, and we will look to include our news section around people, where we ask GPMs or managers to spotlight an employee. So if any GPM or team leader has an employee that they'd like to spotlight, please forward that information to the IT EPMO mailbox so that we can include that information in upcoming editions of the newsletter. So now let's move right into discussing the business case challenge team BCCT process and look at the latest version of the template document. So I'm sure at this point, everyone is really familiar or should be familiar or have been exposed to the stage gate process. So here's where we are in the stage gate process. We're looking at create concept. This is before you bring anything to the team. If you reference the stage gate process, you can see what the objective is of the stage and the activities which should be occurring during this stage and what your estimate maturity might be. So when you prepare for your business case submission, there are a few tools and references that are available on the IT EPMO SharePoint site, which include a cost estimation tool and a capital determination form, as well as all of the playbooks around these processes. So after you've gathered your information, you've created your concept, and the decision has been made that, yes, we are going to proceed with submitting this business case for consideration. Your next steps are to create a demand in ServiceNow and complete your scorecard. You will be moving through this first gate. This is review concept gate 1, and you send your scorecard to the IT EPMO mailbox. So now you have completed your create concept phase and you're ready to submit your business case. So now we are here in the stage gate process. You have your stage gate objectives here and your checklist of activities that need to be completed during this phase. Again, here is your estimate maturity at this point. So let me call your attention to the fact that in ServiceNow, you will see a demand referred to as a press release, or a business case referred to as a press release. There are playbooks and document templates available on the IT EPMO SharePoint. Let me pause for a moment. I don't see that Marin has joined yet, but I do want to mention that when business cases are submitted, the agenda fills rather quickly during certain times of the year. Typically, the BCCT meeting duration is 1 hour, and it's likely that the senior leadership team can only review likely 3 initiatives during that 1 hour period. So, so we communicate the deadline for BCCT submission, but also be aware that the agenda fills up quickly. So once we get the first 3, the agenda is considered full. Now, with that being said, we recognize that urgent initiatives will sometimes crop up, and those need to be addressed immediately. We have options to address those scenarios, which include either getting an approval to add that item to an already full agenda. That's one option. To exercise that option, we need to be able to communicate the urgency, to advise the SLT, okay, this is why we added this initiative to an already full agenda. The other option is if there is not a nearly approaching BCCT meeting scheduled, we can support that initiative with a process referred to as out of cycle BCCT consideration. That's when we forward the initiative to the senior leadership team for their consideration via email. Now, the challenge with that is that you might get a lot of back and forth questioning because you're not in front of that team to explain or present rather, or defend in some cases your business case. So that's the challenge with proceeding through the out of cycle process. But that being said, we do have options to support urgent initiatives. So let's look at preparing the business case document. You'll want to download the latest version of the business case template document. And remember, anytime you're working with these templates, you always want to download a fresh copy. Don't use an existing version that you may have on your personal drive, because sometimes templates are tweaked or they're updated with information. So be sure you're always using the latest version of that document or referencing the latest version of that document. You'll download that to your local machine, and you'll fill that local copy. Then after you create your demand in the Word version, you'll want to submit your request, or, well, rather you'll create your demand. That's in ServiceNow. And again, you'll see that under press release. You will additionally submit your completed business case document to the IT EPMO mailbox. So you've gone through gate 1, so you should have your scorecard, and now you filled out the Word version of your business case document and created your demand. So after you submit your request, you will receive a confirmation of receipt, just an email saying, yes, we have received your business case document and we're going to schedule your review meeting. During that review meeting, the project team, the business case submission team, and an IT EPMO team member will walk through that document to ensure that it's complete and ready for executive consumption. After we all agree that the document, yes, in fact, is ready, that initiative will be added to the agenda, and the BCCT meeting invitation will be forwarded to that project team. So now you're on the agenda and you are ready to submit your business case. So you've received your meeting invitation and you are at the meeting, you're presenting or defending your business case. During that meeting, you will get a determination about your business case. The BCCT team will say, yes, this initiative is verbally approved, let's proceed with an e-vote. Or they may say, this item is deferred as there are outstanding questions or research. So that's the determination you'll get at the BCCT meeting. If your initiative receives verbal approval, an e-vote will be distributed. The e-vote is the mechanism to record the formal approval of your initiative, and that formal approval is forwarded to the finance team to release your project funds, release any project-related funds. So then in your demand management, you must progress your demand to an approved state. The demand must be an approved state for a project number to be generated. So just be advised of that. Your project number cannot be created and therefore your funds can't be released unless your demand is in an approved state. So at this point, you complete your scorecard and you submit that scorecard for your business case. You're here, you complete your scorecard and you submit it to the IT EPMO mailbox. When that happens, your project number is generated, your project is initiated, and the communications are forwarded to the finance team that, yes, the BCCT has approved this initiative and funding should be released.
Salita?
Yes.
Where is the capital determination?
So capital determination typically happens back here, and you will notice, is that Larry? Larry, you'll notice on the new version of the BCCT template document, there is a spot for you to address, and we'll look at that in just a second. There is a field for you to address if you've been through capital determination. And there are reasons that you may not have gone through capital determination. You may not have enough information about the initiative to complete capital determination. So that's one reason. But if you have, the reason capital determination is important at this point is because as I'm all sure we're aware, O&M funds and capital funding is important. And when you go in front of the SLT, you will want to be able to articulate that some aspect of my initiative is supported with capital funding. This other percentage of my funding requires O&M funds. You will want to be able to articulate that, because if we can capitalize any cost, we want to take the opportunity, take advantage of that opportunity. So that's why capital determination is important, even in the earliest stages. Does that answer your question?
Yes and no. The follow-up, I mean, I work on a lot of complex, projects. When there is more than one alternative design, and some alternatives have different capital implications, are not necessarily as eligible for capital as other alternatives. I think implicit in these stage gates, but I'm not sure, I'd love to hear you comment on it, is if we at least determine which alternative is going to be followed. I think that's going to be part of the conceptual design in stage up to stage one.
Right.
And the detailed design and initial design and detailed design, that is, I guess, adding more meat on the bone of the skeleton of the design choice we made back in one. That, to me, does that sound right to you?
So that's where I commented that you may not have enough information to pursue capital determination when you present your business case, because you are not far enough in your design to know which option you're going to pursue. So in that instance, Larry, you would answer no, capital determination has not been completed because the option hasn't been selected or the design isn't far enough. Now, keep in mind, your estimate maturity at this stage is a plus or minus 50%. So you very well at this stage may not be able to complete capital determination, but I will caution you as to this, Larry. The finance team may not release all of the project funding if they don't have a clear understanding of the project costs and if those costs will be capitalized or if those costs will be O&M. So that's why if you have an opportunity to investigate capital determination early on in your initiative, you want to take advantage of that. But it is understood that in some cases, you may not be able to complete capital determination when you bring your business case.
Hi guys,
All right.
here.
Oh, Karen, thank you for
Hey.
joining.
Is that Mike or Larry?
It's Mike. It's Mike,
I
but I'm
know.
not offended. I'm not offended.
I know my friend Mike, so that's why I was asking the question. Who was asking the question? Okay, so Mike, a little bit more inputs on that, right? So when we start the project, let's say we are in the business case development situation, there could be a situation where you know clearly what is the solution we are going to adapt, right? In that situation, you might go to the capital determination, get the clear bifurcation of capital and O&M. That's the cleanest or the clearest way we can have it. The second alternate is that we may not know the solution. We may have multiple alternates. Even then, we may think that one of that could be a probable solution, and we may go to the capital determination and get some sort of clear definition on that. The third situation is we are not clear on the solution itself, or during the design phase or in the initial discussions, we may come up with different solutions. We may float an RFP, RFQ. We may get a solution at that point. So the cost could be at that level. We'll know what is the capital and O&M. So in these three situations, the first situation where everything is good and clear, you will go to capital determination, get it done. You will clearly mention in business case, what is capital dollars and what are the O&M dollars, right? That is clear. In the second situation, if you had gone to capital determination with a possible solution, then you get that information into the business case. But eventually, when you go to the design level, the solution may change. Then you will run a justification document, or you refine your funding estimates. Because funding as of the business case is only a snapshot, right? As you go into the project, as we develop the project, when the cost can change, the solution can change, new parameters can come in. So this cost can be refined as we go by. In the third situation where we don't know anything and we have not done the capital determination, simplistic solution is just go into the business case and mention that no capital determination has been done, but this is the approximate cost we are expecting as a total cost, because you don't know the capital and O&M determination, correct? So does that provide additional details, Mike?
Yes. Yes. And you didn't say it, but I think it goes without saying that for situations like that, doing a justification document to adjust the funding and adjust the project estimates is not a bad thing. That's required on, right. That's the appropriate use of a JD.
Yes. Yes. JD is our, what I would say is the tool that we have to adjust to the changes in the real world, right? So there's nothing wrong in having a justification document as long as it is justified again. That's good. Yeah. But anything on a specific instance to all of you who have joined this call, any specific instance where you don't have the clarity and how do you want to represent the data, just reach out to us. We can discuss with you, because it is not one size fits all, right? We have to discuss based on the case and then accordingly present it. But the bottom line is we have to present the data to the senior leadership team in the most understandable way, clearest way, and the cleanest way. That's what the senior leadership team is looking during these BCCT meetings. Okay, I think we have Tracy Kirk's team here. Sarita Nagavali.
Hey Naren, how are you?
Good, good. How are you doing? Let's take up the case if you're okay, guys. This would be a good discussion. So let's go with that. Go ahead.
I've been making notes of a number of questions about this process while Salita's been talking, and Sarita, thank you for joining, and to the rest of the business folks on the call, thank you for joining. I can put my questions into chat to be answered, kind of one by one. Depending how you guys want to handle it. We have one particular project that came up this morning in question, and Sarita can speak to that one. So I don't know if you want to talk about that particular project first, or some of these, general process questions. We completely recognize that IT did not get up this morning and decide how can we possibly slow down the initiation of these projects even further, or how can we possibly get in the way of a project team. So we recognize that, and we welcome, additional governance and, prudent steps to make sure that some of the problems we've seen in the past get addressed. So we do support that. We have a number of questions, as I said, and some frustrations with things that we're about to kick off and are suddenly being, getting the big red stop sign going, oh, wait, we've got all these new hoops for you to jump through. So, we want to work through those things with you.
Yeah. Hi, Tracy, long time. Okay, so.
Good to talk to you, though.
Okay, good. I think, Tracy, now let's hear the introduction or the overview from Sarita, and then let's address this project specifically, and then we'll go to the process-related topics. Would that sound good, right?
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, Sarita, can you just give us an overview of the situation and what we have to do to expedite the onboarding of the project? Yeah.
Sure, Naren. So this project for adaptive MFA, right? So this has been in talks for a quite long time, and we were going back and forth, and I'm talking about before even our new processes and standards came into picture this year, right? So we've been in discussions for a quite long time, and again, as you were mentioning before, that there were multiple alternatives and how this project should be handled. And we were discussing different options and different solutions on there. So when I had a clear understanding of what we are going ahead with this particular project and the solution, and I had received this email from ITPMO just giving you the full picture of what happened. And I had worked with Kevin and Jared on the business side, and we had our business case ready and send it to you guys. But because this project is been on the books, for discussions for a very long time, this was already talked about, and estimates were probable solution estimates were already given. And we had worked with Bonnie and, with the IT and business, we were very close working together and had reached a conclusion on the capital and O&M cost on this project, and it was all in the works, right? It was not stuck at one point, and in between these new processes and standards came into place. And when we saw the opportunity, when we could present our business case, when we saw the meeting, we had everything ready and submitted it. But what I heard, seeing the emails since morning, what I'm looking at it is that March 7th was the deadline. We submitted before the deadline, but our project was now pushing it to the March 29th meeting instead of the March 16th meeting. So that was one of the concerns. The urgency behind this project, if you look at it, this project has started with giving users a better process, a better way of logging into the my account, and with extra adaptive MFA is that, multiple factor authentication, right? So we are giving a chance to secure the system in different ways that we could, but considering the things that happened in between from the initiation to right now, we had some of the security attacks like in 2021, the project kind of turned into a different way in the sense that security had come into the picture and asked us to implement a more standard ways of securing our system. That's where the project turned into a more of like, okay, let's find a solution where we could work with the vendor and offload a lot of our login and registration process to secure the system in more ways than possible right now, whatever is the existing process. So that's where the urgency is coming from. If you look at it, we are trying to implement this project for a long time, but now that the security came into picture, we are now trying to rush and make sure that this project is started on time so that we could actually implement the solution that could protect our system, my account, and all the public sites are, NJ, my account, and everything. When the user is logging into it and, trying to do any operation on the website. So if you are looking at both the current solution and the solution that we had to implement because of the security standards, that is something making this project more important and more urgent. And meeting this deadline was our really for us, it was time sensitive. And pushing our project from March 16th to March 29th is kind of blocking us from doing anything from the project because we are already at a place where we could have the funding. We have the funding ready and we are ready to start. We have talks with vendor and everything is coming into place. We have the resources ready. We had everything put in place for all these months. We've been working on it. Now at the end of it, this pushing this business case into a different week, March 29th, is literally stopping us from doing everything.
Okay.
And so
yeah, I think I got the picture, but there are a couple of things. You have been, the resources are working on this project for quite a long time. That has been one of the things that I'm hearing from your overview. How you're working on this project?
No, when we are not working on the project. When I say we are looking into it and, the discussions have been going on in the sense our architect talking to the business team, and I'm the project manager who is overlooking all the site core projects, right? So I'm not particularly assigned to one project where I just work and bill on that project. I am just trying to help in the between. But when I say working on the project, our architect is trying to get to the vendors and get more information on which solution will be the best for our company and the site and with the security standards. And business team has been helping us understand what are their scenarios and how we could fit the business need and also the security needs. So when I say working, that's what the work is going on for.
No. I think I'm getting the clarity here, but I just wanted to understand that whenever somebody is working on any proposal, let's not call it as a project.
Right.
Okay? That's a misnomer, okay? A project is not created till it is approved by all around, by line of business, by IT. That will not be a project. So let's not use the word project easily there. Let's use the word proposal. So there is a proposal on which you guys are working.
Right.
And those charges must be, whoever is working on that, those charges must be, going against a particular standing order, okay? Because there is no project, there is no WBS, there's no client accounting. That's point number one. Point number two, you have been working on all these things for so long. What is the committed delivery date of this? So, supposed to be the proposal. When you want to deliver it?
So Naren, it's Tom. Let me interject.
Yeah.
Okay. So MFA is about securing our website.
Right.
It's ASAP. Mm-hmm. Last year we had a credit stuffing attack. And we constantly have attacks, especially now with the war in Russia. We are at a heightened security state. Mm-hmm. So it's not this needs to get done by the end of the year. This needs to get done as soon as possible, because if our website is vulnerable, that will reduce, and if it's attacked and people steal our accounts, that will cause reputation and other issues. So this has been constantly evolving. So we're a product organization. So, as a team, we handle all the operations, but then we were told, let's kick off something to make sure that we secure our website. So that's where this is coming from.
No, got it. But we should be targeting a date right now. Either it is tomorrow or 1 month down the line.
I'll
Right.
just add that this goes back about 2.5 years to a security issue that we had with third-party suppliers. And in addressing and remediating that issue, we made a commitment to the board to implement MFA. And the team has been trying since then to find the right strategy with rapidly evolving technologies, has been to the drawing board several times trying to get this rolling. It has encountered a number of different obstacles, both technical and business. And the project is it's funded and approved and has been through all the hurdles that have been thrown at it all along the way. So to take a project, and I do call it a project, and maybe eventually we'll all learn to differentiate some of the stages of it, and now say, well, it's got to jump through more hoops. If we want to set up new processes, I'm in favor of that, right? Better governance, more rigor. I'm in favor of that. But applying new processes at the last minute, we ran into this last year with cybersecurity suddenly coming in and changing their processes, and expecting projects that were just about to kick off to drop back and go through all of their new hurdles. We lost vendor resources. In the process of losing the vendor resources, we lost, other specialized resources that were coming in to support the effort, and we lost months. So, we need folks to help differentiate and say, okay, if you're starting something from scratch, do it like this. Here are things that are getting ready to kick off. Oh, we want to have an extra review, with the PMO. All right, let's go ahead and do that. But let things keep moving. It's not like there's been any shortage of, IT involvement and participation here. And it is something that, has been committed to the regulators, is time sensitive and urgent from a security perspective, as Tom and Sarita have said. And just, the element of reasonableness to suddenly turn around and go, oh, we've got new rules for you to play by. It's the fourth quarter of the game, but we're going to add a fifth quarter to the game. And you're going to just have to keep playing longer before you can actually start this.
I think, Tracy, I understand the apprehension here, but what I'm trying to also put in here, we are with you, okay? We want to work with the business to get things started off very quickly, but this is not a new process. Maybe you are hearing it new, but this process has been there in the last 8 months. If your GPM and if your PM are very well aware of this process, and when they know that the process, the solution or the proposal is getting to consolidated stage, this is a way to work it out with you, to tell you way ahead of time, saying that, hey, there is one step called business case challenge team step. So please be aware of it. We are preparing the document, we are going to get it. It is not going to stop you from doing it, but there is a step to cross. It's not a new thing. Unfortunately, if Sarita is not aware of it, because we have been multiple times, we have been telling people in trainings, in different forums, they should be aware of this. Okay, that is point number one. Number two, we are with you. We want to work it out very clearly. So having all this situation as right now, we want to kickstart it very quickly. So there are a couple of ways to do it, right? So one is, if the business case document, whatever is, this is not going to stop from the project team to proceed with their whatever activities they were doing, because this is completely funded by line of business. Most of probably the business case challenge team is going to be like an informational to the senior leadership team that such an activity is coming up. This is going to cost this much capital on them, and this is what we need approval. But most probably when line of business funds it in full, our interest in going to BCCT is informational. Okay, and there is an exception also. If it is completely funded, there could be an urgent case request outside the BCCT. We can go with that process, and we can put up an urgent e-vote request to Jishan and the directors, and we can get it done. We will work on that parallelly with your project team. That will not stop your project activities. So whoever gave you the picture saying that stop, drop dead, nothing is going to work on this project is not true.
Naren,
Okay.
I was aware of this, and I am on these emails, but as I mentioned, right, this is an old, it's work in progress for an old requirement, and I was under the impression that this is for like the brand new projects that are starting like
Nope.
right now.
No,
And
no.
this was, again, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to explain it to you, because this was something last time when the business case challenge meeting came up, right? We were in a different state because the MFA project started with one kind of solution, and the security team got involved, and we had to actually make a scope change, and requirements were like, again, they started like, thinking about like, okay, what we can do at this point to accommodate both sides, business and security. So this was never like, there was no a possible solution that we were going to finalize. We were still in the works of deciding what's happening and where we will go with this and all that. Even though it was like, in the talks, we were still like going back and forth with security and business team to understand where we will end up with this. So for me, at that time, last time when the business case challenge was presented, we did not have anything to present. Again, as you mentioned, right, this is totally funded by the business side. So maybe I misunderstood when I was in that call. I did attend the trainings and I went through this process as well. But again, my understanding was a little bit different. But thank you for clarifying. But that was my thought process on behind submitting this now, because now we have a possible clear solution on where the strategy is going and what we are implementing and what we are doing with this project. But this has been in the talks for a few years. Like, as I said, there were a lot of changes in between. And I was not just trying to just present a concept where we are not sure like which possible way we are going, even though you said there are like probabilities and just pick the best probability. It was not that case when security got involved in it. So that's where my confusion got in.
Okay. Anyway, so whatever have happened, we're not trying to finger point people, but let us work as a team. Let's get it done quickly so that the solution can be implemented due to its utmost importance. So Salita, maybe you and me can work with Sarita and Tom to get this done quickly, whichever way we can get it done. If it is required, then we will get a solution to you. Okay. So
for the benefit of the larger group, urgent issues will arise. And as I mentioned earlier, we have options to address urgent scenarios. And Sarita, I understand that the nature of your initiative may have started one way. And to Tom's point, now we need to urgently address this situation. And that's the justification for us to either proceed with, as I noted in the email, with the explanation that this is why the agenda is so heavy, or if we need to immediately kick off this project due to its urgent nature, we can immediately circulate an email. So I will work with the Sarita and the project team offline. Tom, I understand the sense of urgency, and we have a mechanism to address that's benefit.
Yeah, I think let's take it offline, Tracy, to facilitate this whole thing. We'll work. Salita will work with Sarita. Anything more required, then I'll pitch in and we will help this out. But be assured that nothing will stop as far as the project implementation is going on. That fears can be alleviated. Okay.
And Tracy, we are here to support you,
absolutely,
not to hinder.
Yep. I really appreciate it. I understand, we have been working together so many and projects, I think let's continue. This is not a major showstopper. We'll get it done. Right. Okay, thank you.
So let's go forward with our agenda. If no additional questions, Tracy, Sarita, I will follow up with you after this session.
Yeah, so from a
Thank you.
process perspective, if I have other questions about the process, in terms of the relationship between this process and the business process to get things initiated, because the business has its own process to get projects started. Do you want to have a separate conversation to go through some of those questions about the business impacts? Do you want me to put them in, just put them in an email to you guys and communicate that way? How would you like to do that?
Tracy, how about this? I schedule a session for you and Loren and I to address any process questions and how the two processes integrate.
Great, and I'll include a couple of other folks from the business to make sure we do the same thing at the same time.
Sure, you can forward the meeting invite to whomever you please. It's the more the merrier. So we can have that discussion, and I'll drop something on calendars for that.
Okay, appreciate
Yeah,
that.
let's get over the hump for what we have on hand, the urgency, and then the process related questions. Yeah, we will take it up, Tracy, with you on the side. Okay.
Absolutely. So we're right about almost at 10:45. So we will quickly look at the business case document, and just so you have the document in front of you, you're aware, you'll note that the version on this one is March 22. You see that you have your demand number, and as we talked about, your demand should be at least in a qualified state when you bring it to the T. I'll note that you, at this point, you may not have a project manager or a technical lead. You just leave those fields blank. Your intro should be an executive level description of your project or your effort. Your customer benefits, when at all possible, should be quantified. For example, we will gain X% in revenue. We will be able to reduce by 1 head count. So you want to be able to quantify your benefits where possible. Implications of not approving. This is a new field that is getting executive attention. Executives want to understand what happens if we don't approve this. Is there, to the point we just talked about, a security risk? Is there some implication, financial or risk-wise, that the governance team needs to be aware of if we were not to implement this solution? If a scorecard app is impacted, and this hyperlink takes you to the list of scorecard apps for you to consider. This field is where you list the primary products or deliverables that will be produced by this effort, your estimate assumptions. Of course, we talked earlier about the cost estimator tool. Is a really great tool to help you work through and determine your cost. What is your estimate maturity? My cost estimate maturity, I'm very early on. I don't have all my information. I'm only at a 50% maturity, which is not unexpected at this phase of a project. What is your funding methodology? Is this effort IT funded? Is it LOB funded? Or is it jointly funded? You'll want to outline that here. We've talked about capital determination earlier, so I think we've kind of answered those questions. And there is a template document available to you on SharePoint. I won't go through all of these in the interest of time. I would like to point out a few of the new questions, including these. Is there a business requirement to expose data or APIs? Is there a requirement for data integration and records retention requirements? We'll look at this one real briefly should we have enough time, but these are new to the document, to this version. Of course, timelines. I will express that you should put this together with some understanding of your start and your finish. These will be tracked and reported. These are the dates that you will continue. Once your project spins off and it becomes a project, it will track to, this is when we expect to start, and this is our expected go live date. And that's so the IT leadership can have an understanding of when they are committing resources. Your implementation risks should be captured here. Again, these are high-level risks. There is a playbook for you to reference to understand your probability impact and calculating your risk index, your contingency rationale. We are at 50% cost estimate maturity. So your contingency might be 30%, 40%. Working through that cost estimation tool will help you identify your contingency needs. Dependency should be captured here. We are dependent upon an SOW. We're dependent on hardware delivery. Whatever the case is, you'll want to capture that here. Alternatives considered. This is another area that the SLT looks at. They want to understand what other solutions did we consider before we chose the current path. You'll want to document that here, and any vendors you currently identified that you'll be working with are annotated here. This is your cost sheet. This is where you've done your capital determination, or if not, what items you identify as capital costs versus which one of these items are O&M costs across the years. The total of your O&M costs and your capital costs is your total implementation cost. You will also note down below any ongoing costs added, reduced, or avoided, and ongoing cost decreases. You will note that record retention costs are captured here. And again, we'll talk about record retention in just a moment. Here is an appendix, which includes your record retention criteria and tasks for you to reference. And we will move right into a brief overview of record retention requirements. Naren, would you like to address this one?
Yeah. So I'll be very brief here because we did address this a couple of times and in other forums. But so this is an offshoot of the audit observation that came out in LI. They wanted to understand and did the audit in order to find out how the records that are generated out of a project are being stored and how they are being archived at the end of the storage guidelines, right? Retention guidelines. So we have an enterprise-wide group called RMG, Records Management Group, and they have specific guidelines for different categories of documents. If it is finance-related document, regulatory-related documents, hard copies, electronic versions, structured, unstructured data. So all these guidelines are there. The links are provided a little bit later. But as I said, this is an offshoot of an audit observation that came up into an action item assigned to the process team. So we went through the study, we understood the guidelines, categorized them, came out with a set of questions. We call them as RRC, Record Retention Criteria, that need to be addressed throughout the life cycle of a project. Starting from the inception, at the business case level itself, we want to start understanding and address these record retention criteria with the business. Take an example of a financial related records that we are developing. So we should start discussing with the business, hey, according to the RMG guidelines, we need to retain them for X number of years, depending on the quantum of the records that we are generating. This is where we find solution should be, where should be stored, how should be accessed, who should be the owner of those records to take any sort of decision about archiving or destroying those records, etc. So that is a record retention. So the criteria are implemented into various templates. So you don't have to do anything very specific to the record retention. Just go through those questions, embed these RRC during your design discussions with your technical team and the business. So you will understand and address them. And then at each of the gates, you will start progressing gradually into a fully supporting solution to the record retention. At the end of the project, the records, when they're stored, that information need to be extended to RMG. So we are working out for a way of communication. What is the process for that? But as of now, for the projects that are starting fresh, that are going to business case challenge team, or the projects that are in flight need to be addressing this. The new projects, no issues, because they start with fresh discussions with the business, etc. Whereas the projects that are in flight, please pick up the new templates or the updated templates on the SharePoint site, which already have these RRC questions embedded. Okay. So as long as you download the updated templates, you will see the RRC sections, and automatically you will know that these points need to be addressed. Please do not use old templates. You might have used a template like 6 months back on a different project, and don't copy it and then start reusing it, because you may miss some of these enhanced sections. Okay, so that's the RRC. Any further details you want to understand while answering those questions, you can definitely reach out to us. We'll provide you the needed clarifications.
Great, thank you, Naren. A couple of training sessions have been conducted around records retention. If anyone feels that there is additional training required or another session is requested, please don't hesitate to reach out via the IT EPMO mailbox to request an additional highlight on this topic. So with that being said, I would like to emphasize the fact that the IT EPMO Ops team is here to support you and to facilitate successful project management. So please don't hesitate to reach out to our team for us to provide that support. So Naren, would you like to address, make any closing comments around data quality and validation efforts?
Yeah, so this is another initiative that we are bringing in from EPMO team, because whatever these, we are presenting it, like I was telling you, Jishan's main focus has been transparency, right? We have to be transparent in what we are doing on a project, both to our business and to ourselves. So how do we represent the transparency is to maintain good quality on the data that we are having on the projects in ServiceNow. Unfortunately, it's bad to say that the quality is not up to the quality or to the standards that we wanted to have. So I request basically all the GPMs and PMs focus on the data quality in for your projects. There are hardly any fields that you have to focus, and if we don't maintain them, then there is not a good thing to go at. Like dates. The committed delivery date is one date that we all know that we are targeting or marching towards. And I have seen at least 15 to 20% of the projects have crossed that date, and there is no effort to correct it. Right? The same thing with the financials. If you find that your financials are not properly managed or maintained in ServiceNow, it is your responsibility to talk to the teams and the ServiceNow team to get the financials aligned. Same thing with your justification documents. I see projects are crossing over their budgets, crossing over their committed delivery dates, not maintaining the sprint-related data. But how can we try and put this into perspective to senior leadership team? I have seen some projects where the project manager names are not properly assigned, which is very, very, very shocking that way. So we have started an initiative to see this, the data is cleansed and a good quality data is produced or is maintained in ServiceNow. So the questions around the data itself and expectations, the clarity around the specific fields and field definitions. If you are not sure of any field in ServiceNow, you are more than welcome to join, call us or put the questions here or bring the questions to our table. We will run a session, right? Because this is like a team, we have to maintain the quality. So please help us to get good quality data in ServiceNow so we can help you in projecting your project properly to the senior leadership team. Maybe I'm going to represent certain data which is not updated, and that is going to hit everybody around, right? And projecting the data reporting point of view, like I said, finally, why we maintain this data is to report it to the senior leadership team and to our line of business to maintain the status of every project and clean data and transparency to them. So we are approaching you multiple times. No, we have to do that because we are doing it in multiple waves. We are avoid because we are not getting the data one shot. So we are reaching back to you back and forth. Bear with us for that. But this is towards a common goal for both of us, that we maintain the good quality data. Any help you need to get the ServiceNow up to date, or to get the clarity on any field, or how to maintain the data in ServiceNow. Like, for example, a lot of questions I have been answering on justification document, how to create a document, how to upload it, how to start the workflow. Please, don't hesitate. Just call us and we will walk you through. If you want a specific section that this should be addressed, we will conduct a session for you in our regular training programs or in the GPM PM forum itself. So it is to the knowledge of everybody, to the benefit of everybody, right? So please help us to help you to project the projects properly to the senior leadership team.
Great,
Go
thank
ahead.
you, Naren.
Yeah.
So this is a snapshot of the IT EPMO SharePoint site. This presentation and the recording will be available at the SharePoint site for your reference. Again, this is how you can reach us, and I think both Naren and I have stated several times, please don't hesitate to contact us for support. We have office hours every Thursday. We have the IT EPMO mailbox, which is monitored by all of the IT EPMO members, or you could submit a ticket through ServiceNow, and your request can be captured that way. So these are all the mechanisms by which you can get support. And again, we are here exactly for that, to support you and ensure that your project data is reported accurately. So Naren, unless you have anything else, the floor is open. Any other final remarks?
Oh, I think we're good. I think we are trying to convey the messages on two major things, right? Please upload the templates whenever you want to use them. Do not use the previous ones. Number two, please maintain the data in the ServiceNow right away. The project managers, whoever are on this call, or you can talk to your colleagues, please let them go and start addressing those dates and the other financial fields, and any other related data like forecasts. Okay, please maintain the data properly. It may not take more than 15 minutes or 20 minutes, but as long as you look at them regularly. Okay, so those are the two main points for the focus this time for this EPM forum. And thank you for joining us. Anytime you want help or assistance or any hand holding, just let us know.
Great, thank you, Naren.
Okay,
thank you everyone for the collaboration. Have a great day.
Thank you.